Hello, I'm immigration attorney Karen Winston, and I wanted to talk with you today about trafficking and the T visa, particularly labor trafficking. So very excited, just got a new approval for a T visa today, the case we had for a couple of years. Then we got a very difficult request for more evidence to show that the person was a victim of trafficking, and we got that approved, got the notice today, so I'm so happy about that. And this means that this person who had no status, is now going to be able to go to school and get a driver's license, and has work authorization, and has lawful status in the United States for 4 years, which in 3 years he can apply for his green card. Excuse me. So I'm very excited about that, and I thought that this would be a great time to make a short video to let people know about the T visa. So many people hear about human trafficking and the horrors of human trafficking, and about sex trafficking. There's also labor trafficking, and that in my office we do both kinds of cases, T visas for both kinds of trafficking, but the most common one that we find is labor trafficking. And in almost every person that I interview and determine that they were a victim of trafficking, for almost every individual where that happens in those types of cases, the person didn't know that they were a victim of trafficking. They knew that they had been treated unfairly. They knew their employer had done something wrong, but they couldn't put their finger on it, or they didn't know that it had a specific legal definition in the United States that could lead to a specific type of protection and lawful status. So I wanted to just take a moment to talk to you guys about that and tell you about that, all about labor trafficking. So very often we see it in cases where somebody entered the United States legally, okay? It might be that they came on a tourist visa, it might be that they were brought on an H-2A or an H-2B visa. They might have been brought here with the intention that they were going to work in what they viewed as being a better paying job. But after living and working in that situation, they realized that whatever they were promised isn't true. Maybe they're having to pay back money for supposed rent or living quarters. Maybe they're hardly given breaks in order to, eat lunch and things like that. Maybe they thought they would be working, 8 or 10 hour days, and instead they're working 12 or 15-hour days. Maybe they're living in very close, terrible quarters, and they thought that they were going to have reasonable, safe housing. Those are all indicators of a trafficker trying to take advantage of their worker, and that they can be those can all be indicators of labor trafficking. So a couple other really common things that we see is that the trafficker, who might be the employer, holds the worker's passport, maybe threatens that they're going to report the worker to immigration if they try to leave. I've even had instances where the worker was kept in a housing complex in an agricultural setting, where the complex was actually guarded by people who made sure that the workers didn't leave. All of these would be red flags to me as an immigration attorney that what's occurring might be trafficking. Another really common one is a common fact pattern is where the person is getting an agricultural visa, an H-2A visa, and they are promised this wonderful job in the United States, but in order to get that visa, to have that opportunity to come to the United States, they're going to have to pay some large amount. There should be no payments involved in getting the visa to come to the United States. We've often seen traffickers who also told people in that situation that they should never reveal to immigration that they paid for any kind of visa. So that's a common factor. And also in those situations where the person's paying to get their visa to come to the United States, many times they took out a loan. Maybe they, in their home country, maybe they had to give up their family's land as collateral to ask for a loan to be able to pay those visa fees, or the fees to the traffickers, the fees to the recruiters. And now that they're here in the United States and they're working, they're indebted. They fear oftentimes that if they don't, continue working, even though the conditions might be terrible and the wages might be particularly unfair, that if they don't keep doing that, that they are going to lose their land, lose their property in their home country, or their family in their home country might be threatened. These are all real and common experiences that our clients, that I've seen personally in some of our clients who are qualify as victims of trafficking. One other thing to keep in mind about the T visa is that it's a generous visa, okay? And I mentioned lawful entry. I just want to be clear. You do not have to have entered the United States lawfully in order to apply for a T visa. That's just something, the H-2A visa entry is something that I often see in the labor trafficking cases that we do. But you can also have entered the country without a visa, without permission, and still be eligible for a T visa depending on the other circumstances of your case. So the T visa is very forgiving, okay? It waives a lot of things. There is a waiver that can be applied for with it, which is where you ask for forgiveness for certain things. For example, removal order, that may be forgiven with a waiver from and applied for with a T visa. A T visa, if approved, leads to the person having lawful status for 4 years. After 3 years, they can apply for their green card. So it's really a wonderful tool to assist victims of trafficking to come forward and get status and not be living in the shadows and not continue to be taken advantage of. The T visa is a really good tool for that, and it's not a very well-known tool, and a lot of immigration attorneys miss it because they're not screening for it. So I encourage you, if you know someone who might have experienced some of the things I described, particularly where they might be threatened by the employer, they might be threatened with deportation, they might be threatened that they're going to be turned over to immigration if they leave, their documents might be confiscated by the employer. Those sort of things, having to continue to work because you feel you need to pay back a debt, or continue to work because you're afraid you're going to be deported or turned over to immigration. Those are all things that would be a red flag for me to say we need to have a talk about whether you're a victim of trafficking. And most victims of trafficking don't know that what they experienced was actually trafficking. At least in my experience of the people that I've helped get T visas, many of them had no idea that they even qualified for a T visa. So the T visa, if approved, like I said, you get work authorization, status for 4 years, and the ability to apply for permanent residence. I regularly meet with people to conduct consultations to see if they might be eligible. If you know someone or you yourself is eligible, you can easily schedule a consultation with my office online by visiting our website, www.kwinstonlaw, or simply call our office at 904-723-4570. All of my staff here speak Spanish. There's also a Spanish-speaking attorney here for our Spanish speakers. We love what we do. We love keeping families together. We're super excited about this victory that we just got for our client, and we're happy to share our knowledge with you and meet with you to potentially see if there's a way that we can help you, either with a T visa or in some other way. Thanks so much for taking the time to listen to me. Stay